I just came for the beer.
What's up guys, Travis with Pro Performance. We're gonna do a video here to show you the install of a 5.7 belltech drop kit. At the same time, we're gonna put on our Revelator 13-inch front big brake kit, 13-inch rear big brake kit, and then 18-inch Americans are already on there. So follow us along and we'll show you how easy it is. Yeah, set it on the ground so the weight is on the truck. Don't do it this way, as an afterthought. Or just have an eddy. So what we did is a good way to get off the upper nut off the shock absorber, because the shaft usually spins when you take it off, is let the spring put all the weight on the shock. It'll kind of pull it, then you hit it with the impact and it'll spin off, so it doesn't just spin the shaft. We're gonna take off the steering arm for the spindle so we can rotate it and get to the actual ball joints of the spindle itself easier for the upper and lower. We'll back off the nut almost all the way and then use a sledgehammer to pop it loose. If the ball joint spins and it won't allow you to take off the nut, you can always get the jack, push up on it, and that'll put the taper back into the steering knuckle portion, put tension on it. Then you should be able to take it off the rest of the way. And so you don't have to search for it later. For the cotter pins, you're gonna straighten them out like so. They can still be a little bit of trouble to work through. This one's not too bad, but what you can do is we'll come around to the other side. And if they're tight, you can kind of grab it like this and use the pliers as a pry bar to pull it out. We're gonna take the bump stop off because it's gonna be way too close once we come down to the 5-inch drop. So we're gonna get ready to pop the ball joints on the lower and upper. We're gonna do the same process, leave a little bit of it threaded. Then we're gonna use the tension of the spring to help pop that out and hit it right here with the sledgehammer. Same thing with the upper. That'll catch it from the arm just falling. Then once those are released, then you can slowly release the arm and pull the spring. We're also gonna remove the sway bar. We're gonna take the spindle off, the ball joints, that's it. Just like that. And luckily the new one, normally you would put the drop spindle on, repack your bearings, put the old brakes on, but our spindle already has the brakes done, so it's gonna make the job a little bit easier. We are lowering the control arm down so we can get the coil spring out. There, it shouldn't be under a lot of tension. There you go. Well, at least the new one's shorter, so it'll be that much easier. Oh, ready? There, you're good. All right, so in the kit with the coil springs, you will get a spacer up top. That spacer, with the spacer, that is a 2-inch drop spring. Pull the spacer, 3-inch drop. You pair that with the 2-inch spindle, 5 inches of drop up front. So right in here, there's a little divot. That's where your lower spring is gonna, the end of the coil spring is gonna sit. And then when we lift this up, then we'll make sure it's seated up in the upper spring pocket. There's kind of like a cone in there that's like this. So your spring will sit in that. So once it gets up there a little bit, then we can make sure it's seated in the top. We got the new spring in there. We're just lifting it back up, put a little tension on it. So that way the upper spring is seated and it's seated and lower. It doesn't need a lot of tension, just a little bit. Now we'll go ahead and drop the spindle on, tighten everything down. That side's done. So this is the back side of the belltech spindle. This one, again, has been modified for our Revelator 13-inch kit. The reason we're going 13s is because of the 18-inch wheels. So they modify it here. This comes fully assembled. When you order the 13-inch kit from us, it'll come just like this, all done on the spindle, new ABS sensor with the plug. So we probably won't show you the full install of this, but we cut the previous one and then we'll feed this through and plug it in later. But we'll go ahead and get the spindle dropped on the control arm and button up that side.
Bring it back.
So we're gonna take off this bracket right here so that way we can run the new brake hose. It's gonna attach for this brake kit. It's gonna attach right there. So we're gonna take it off now because the arm's higher and it's a little easier. To put everything back together, just do the opposite of what you did to take it off.
All right guys, so onto the back right now. We're going to get the lower shock mounts taken apart. Then we're going to loosen up the U-bolts so that that can already all be loose. And we're gonna drop it back down to the ground so it's safe and remove the rear end basically. All right guys, so as you can see, the notches are already in place and installed. Basically, it's pretty straightforward. All you're gonna really do is use the template that comes with the C-notch, cut it out, drill the holes, and put the bolts in. It is a little time consuming, but something you gotta do when you want a custom truck. All right, guys, getting the old U-bolts out. The new Street Performance shocks from Belltech are installed. Some of you guys may have the black version of these shocks. All that is just a lighter valve shock. This one gives you a little bit more firmness when you drive, a little bit more control. So we chose this one. All right, guys, so we're taking out the stock shackle. Well, we're gonna be replacing it with a 1-inch Belltech drop shackle. That's gonna give you the 7-inch drop. The 6 is coming from the flip kit. The 1-inch drop shackle is giving you that extra inch. So we're taking the leaf spring from the top of the axle, flipping it to the bottom of the axle, hence why this is called a flip kit. So this right here is a flip kit axle bracket, and this hole right here helps you align where your rear end sits, so it sits where it needs to be. This hole is gonna go toward the front of the truck, not like this, it's going to go toward the front. So keep that in mind when you're doing yours, and you'll be good. Now we're getting the lower leaf spring bracket put on, the new U-bolts, new plate, new hardware, and same thing with the upper bracket, this little hole toward the front, not toward the back.
Shock, go into the bracket here. Basically just makes it longer so you can still keep a long shock, get a good ride. In theory, the longer the shock, the better travel and better ride you're gonna get out of it. We're gonna cut the bed because on a 5.7 drop, the rear end gets so close that this needs to be trimmed out on the brace. So we're gonna take about a 12-inch section out of it. So that way it'll have room to come up and give bias about, what is that, 2 inches more of room. So we'll just make a cut, then take a flap disc, hit it, smooth it out, good to go. So we're gonna set it back down with just a little bit of weight on it because the shocks are just a little off from going in the extender. So that'll lift up the axle a tad. We'll get the lower shocks in. Once the weight is on the vehicle, then we can go ahead and tighten the leaf springs, the shackles. Then we put the bed on and see how it sits. Bed's on, all done. Let's see where it sits. We're all wrapped up with the install. Again, this is a Belltech 5.7 drop. We did do the Revelator 13-inch kit in front because it was attached to the spindle again. We're gonna bleed it later. But this is the finished product. Got to roll some fender lips, but overall it sits really low, especially on 18s. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe, check us out, call us with any of these parts. We can definitely get it, and hope this is a help when you go to lower your OBS.